Where is that? Oh, sorry about that. I thought you were somebody else. Actually, I'm glad you're here. If you could just hold still for a second. All right. All right, boys and girls. Today we're going to be going over my main squeeze here. This is a rifle that I have been working on for the past couple years. Just kind of adding parts over time, trying to get it just perfect. And I dare say, we might have it there. So this rifle is kind of my main duty rifle that I have put together to serve a very specific purpose, which I'll get into later. First, I kind of want to break down the build for you guys, go over the parts that I put on here and kind of why I have put them on here. And then after I break down the build, I will explain why the gun is put together this way, but also why you watching this video also need to have this gun. Well, not this exact gun. This is my gun. You can't have this gun, but yeah, you get it. All right, so getting into the build, I'm going to start off with the receiver, with the upper and the lower. So the lower I'm using on this guy is just an Aero Precision lower. I've used these lowers on a couple of my guns. I do really like them. They work very well if you get the black one. I have had experiences with the other colors of Aero lowers and uppers, like the Sniper Gray and the FDE specifically, where they actually have so much Cerakote on them that where the upper and the lower fit together actually don't fit. And I've actually had to sand Cerakote off to get them to fit properly before. So it's just something to keep in mind if you're going to get an Aero lower. Get a black one. The upper on this guy is, I believe, an Olympic Arms upper, which a lot of you probably don't recognize that brand. They're much older. They are good, you just don't see their stuff around very much. This upper, it's just a standard mil-spec upper. There's nothing that special about it. It is well made. It actually came off of a gun that my dad bought like 15 years ago. It's like the first AR that anybody in my family's ever owned. So it has had many thousands of rounds through it and it's still running strong, no problems at all. As far as the controls that I have in this lower, they're all pretty much just mil-spec stuff. Mag release, safety, bolt release, all mil-spec, nothing special there. I do have a Magpul bad lever on the bolt release. That is something I wanted to mess around with a little bit and see if I liked it. And it is nice, I do like it, but it's definitely not necessary. It is nice being able to manipulate the bolt with your fire hand and not, you know, your support hand, but it's definitely not necessary. Half the time I find myself just kind of subconsciously hitting the bolt release with my left hand anyway. The grip that I'm running on this guy is a Magpul MOE SL grip. I didn't pick that one specifically for any reason. I think it's just one that I grabbed off the shelf and bought. I think all the different models of Magpul grips are very similar, and you know, you try a couple, find one you like. I really like the SL. It's just a good size for my hand, but I think any Magpul grip is just a good grip. I really like Magpul's stuff. Mostly because they're just really easy to find. You can get Magpul grips basically anywhere. The trigger I have in this guy is a Timney. Now, I'm not going to remember the model. It's been in this gun for many years. I put it in a long time ago. I will say though, one thing with this trigger and one thing to keep in mind when you're building a rifle like this is very much a competition-oriented trigger, which means that it has a very great pull and a very great reset, like 2.5 pounds. Very short travel, very short, crisp reset, but because it is a competition trigger, it has a lighter hammer spring, which means that if I ever put like steel case surplus ammo in this gun, this hammer will not reliably set off those primers. So that's just something to keep in mind. If it's a competition rifle and you're shooting high quality ammo out of it, it doesn't really matter. But if it's a rifle like this one that I built to very much be a duty rifle, then that is definitely a reliability issue with the gun. And that's something just to keep in mind if you're building yours. There are very nice drop-in triggers out there that are still very light that will set off shitty ammo. Just do your research, find a good one. Moving on to the rest of the upper here, the bolt I have in this guy is actually the Olympic Arms bolt that came with this upper all those years ago and never had a single problem with it. It's had just as many rounds as the upper and it's still running strong. It's a great bolt. That's definitely something to keep in mind when you're building a rifle. You can get a budget lower, a budget upper, but you need to get a good bolt. The bolt is a very important part of the rifle. You know, if you get a cheap bolt and the rifle starts to get a little bit dirty, you're going to start having reliability issues. Get a good bolt. You know, again, just do your research before you buy something. Make sure it's good quality. The charging handle I have on this guy is a BCM charging handle. I'm not going to know the model of this guy. This is one I kind of got in a bucket of parts that a friend had, but it does have this nice big oversized latch on the left side of the gun, which is very nice for charging the rifle. I do really like that. Moving on to the buffer assembly on this rifle, there's nothing special here. This is just a mil-spec buffer tube with a carbine spring and buffer inside. I couldn't tell you the brands of any of that. They're just very cookie cutter basic parts that, you know, you could get this part from 20 different brands and it's probably going to be the same exact part. The stock I have on this guy is a Magpul CTR. I really like this stock. Again, I just like Magpul stuff in general. The CTR is just a very basic stock. It looks just like Magpul's standard MOE stock. The main difference between the CTR and just like a standard MOE stock is it has this nice lock right here. So after you adjust your stock, get it right where you want, you can push this lock up and it puts pressure on the buffer tube so that your stock doesn't wobble and rattle around, and that's a really nice addition they added. It also has QD points on either side where I have my sling attached here, and that's always very nice. Speaking of where my sling is attached, the sling I have on this rifle is an AR Stoner sling, which AR Stoner is very much a budget brand of stuff. They have a lot of parts, everything from receivers to bolt carriers to barrels. I cannot attest to the quality of those parts, but I do know that they're very cheap in price. This sling I've had on here for a while, and it's been very good. There's a couple things I don't like that much about it, but I believe it is like a $30 or $40 sling. I have enjoyed this sling. This padded section is, you know, it's very comfortable. It works very well. I would say the one place this sling falls a little short is the quick adjust here. It's not the greatest, but it does work. I personally don't use that part of the sling as much as other people, so it doesn't matter quite as much to me. Other than that, this is a good quality sling. The manufacturing quality is very good. I've used it a lot. I kind of have beat the crap out of it, and it doesn't have any problem. It doesn't lose its adjustment or, you know, fray or anything like that. All the stitching's very good. It's holding on. Moving up to the other end of the sling here, I just have it on another QD point in the handguard. Now this handguard is an Aero Precision Atlas handguard. Now I really like this handguard. I've had this handguard on this gun probably for 2 or 3 years now. I really like the size of these handguards. They're, for my kind of medium-sized hands, they're just a good size to get a good grip on, and they're nice and comfortable. They're, you know, very well made, very sturdy. I have absolutely beat the crap out of this one. It's got scratches all over it from my sling and all kinds of other stuff, but it's still holding great. It's never come loose or anything like that. On the handguard here, I have the Streamlight ProTac rifle light. I really like this light, and I would definitely recommend it. Now, it's not a Surefire, just keep that in mind, but it is a fraction of the price of a Surefire. Streamlight is still American made, it's still very good stuff. I think I got this guy off Amazon for around $100, and it came with the pressure switch. So if you're looking for an entry-level weapon light to mount on your rifle, I definitely recommend this guy, it's a good one. Down on the bottom here, I have a Magpul vertical foregrip that I cut short. I don't need a full-length foregrip. You know, I'm never going to be holding this rifle like this. I always have a grip up over the top so I can activate the weapon light and just keep better control over the rifle. So I just needed something there to put my bottom fingers on, pull the rifle into myself, and just have a consistent place to always bring my hand back to. On the top here, I have 2 Magpul M-Bus flip-up sights. These are pretty standard stuff. They're nothing too special, but they do work really well. And with this red dot I have on here, they are a perfect lower third co-witness through the red dot, so that is really nice. Speaking of the red dot, this is a Holosun 403B. Now this red dot is not what I would call a high-end red dot, but it is still very good. I think you can get these for around $200, and they do work very well. This guy I have dropped several times. I've kind of thrown this gun around in the back seat of a car. You know, it's definitely not babied, and this thing has held zero, no problem. The glass is very good quality. There's not much bluing when you look through it. The one thing I will say about these red dots that are less money is usually they're not as waterproof as the manufacturer claims. Now, I haven't tested this one, but that's usually the thing I've found is like when you're spending several $100s on a red dot, it's going to be much more waterproof than a cheaper one like this. Now, you know, whether you need that or not is totally subjective to your situation. As far as like shooting in the rain, a red dot like this would be just fine. It's more like submerging the red dot in water where you might notice a difference, where a cheaper red dot like this might get water in the battery compartment or the emitter, whereas a really expensive red dot's not going to. But if you are looking for a very basic entry-level red dot that's not going to break the bank, I definitely recommend one of these guys. All right, we're going to finish up here with the barrel setup that I have on this rifle. Now, I'm just going to come out and tell you, first thing, this barrel was about $100. This is not an expensive barrel. Now, is it important to get a quality barrel? Of course, but I think there's a common misconception that you have to spend a lot of money to get a quality barrel. Well, I think that quality is subjective. I think that totally depends on what you're trying to accomplish with the rifle that you're building. My accuracy standards are hitting, you know, man-sized targets, maybe a little bit smaller, at 100, 150 yards. I have a red dot on here. I'm not going to be shooting much farther than that, and I'm not shooting for sub-MOA accuracy because that's not what this gun is built for. So I don't need a $400 barrel. Now, of course, when you talk about budget anything, you are going to be sacrificing certain things. With this barrel, it is Parkerized, which is kind of the cheapest coating you can get on a barrel. It's much more prone to rusting, so you have to take better care of the barrel and make sure you're oiling it or keeping it in a controlled environment where it's not going to get a lot of humidity on it and rust. I'm not going to remember the brand of this barrel. I definitely bought it off like Midway USA, but that's just kind of my opinion, is that depending on the rifle you're building and what that rifle is going to be used for, you don't necessarily need to spend a ton of money to get a barrel that works. Now, this barrel is about 14 inches long, and I have my muzzle brake pin and welded on here. Now, this muzzle brake is a Silencer Co. brake. I'm not going to remember the model. I actually don't think they make these anymore. I got it from a friend, kind of in just some spare parts he had. Now, if I was to build this rifle again, I would not use this brake. It's actually a really good brake, and it works extremely well for what it's designed for. The problem is, I shouldn't have used a muzzle brake in the first place. I should have used a flash hider, but, you know, live and learn. The gun still shoots fantastic. This is just very concussive, so if you're, you know, working in a team environment or shooting around other people, it might be a little disorienting. Now, at the beginning of this video, I said that you also need to own a rifle like this. Well, why did I say that? Well, that's because this is America, and fuck them commies. Well, the reason I said that is based on the reason that I built this rifle in the first place. I built this rifle to exercise my Second Amendment right. So specifically, what does that mean? Well, the Second Amendment protects each citizen's right to keep and bear arms. Now, more to that, it's to protect a citizen's ability to defend themselves, their family, their neighbors, and anybody else around them. So when I say I built this rifle to exercise my Second Amendment right, that means I built this rifle to defend myself, to defend my family, to defend my neighbors, essentially just to preserve innocent life. You know, I didn't build this rifle to go out looking for trouble, looking for a reason to use it. I built this rifle in case that reason finds me. Of course, nobody ever wishes that they would find themselves in a situation where they have to shoot another person. But if you do ever find yourself in that situation, it's never your choice. The best that you can do is be prepared just in case that situation ever does arise. So that explains why I built this rifle, but why do I say that you also need to own a rifle like this? Well, that's because as a citizen of this country, you also have the right as well as the responsibility to protect yourself and the people around you. That really is what the Second Amendment is about, is protecting the people's ability to defend themselves, to stand up to tyrannical power. And as a citizen of this country, you have the responsibility to do that if the need ever arises. And to be able to do that, you need to have the tools to do so. And it's not just enough to have the tool, you need to know how to use it as well. So not only do you need to have a rifle like this, you need to know how to use it. You need to get out and train with it. You need to shoot it. You need to understand the basic fundamentals of running it efficiently, of shooting it efficiently, and hitting what you need to hit, so that if you ever do find yourself in a situation where you have to protect the people that you care about, you're ready to do so. So that's the reason that you also need to own a rifle like this, so that you can exercise your right and your responsibility to protect the innocent people around you. Because as the Uvalde Police Department so expertly demonstrated, you can't always wait for the cops to save you. Anyway, guys, that is going to be everything from me today. I do hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the build, and I hope you enjoyed some of my philosophy on why you should also own a rifle like this. When was the last time you called your mom? Give her a call. Let her know you love her. Make sure you get out and train. Be a good person. I'll see y'all later.